Okay, let's just dive right into this. Welcome to today's Explainer, where we're prying open one of the most genuinely fascinating cold cases in the history of science. For nearly 5 decades now, astronomers, astrobiologists, and, well, a whole lot of amateur sleuths have been completely obsessed with this one fleeting moment from August 1977. So we're going to investigate this 49-year-old astrophysical mystery that has basically dodged every single attempt at a simple explanation.
So ask yourself, what is the single strongest candidate for alien contact in human history? I mean, despite decades of searching the cosmos with better and better tech, this one specific anomaly from August 15, 1977 still sits there as the absolute holy grail of SETI research, the search for extraterrestrial intelligence. It's known simply as the Wow signal. And as you'll see, the deeper we dig into what this thing actually was, the more complicated the whole puzzle becomes.
72. That is exactly how many seconds this signal lasted. Now, you might be wondering, why 72 seconds? Well, the Big Ear Radio Telescope at Ohio State University was a passive telescope. It didn't actively track objects, it just pointed at a specific elevation and let the Earth's rotation do all the heavy lifting. So it took exactly 72 seconds for a single point in the sky to sweep across the telescope's observation range. And the signal? It grew stronger for 36 seconds as it entered the beam, peaked right in the middle, and then faded for 36 seconds as it exited. It behaved exactly like a point source out in deep space.
Here is our investigation log for this explainer. We're going to hit the 1977 detection, how we ruled out earthly origins, the 2017 comet theory, a sun-like star candidate, the new Maser hypothesis, and finally, why this case remains wide open.
Section 1. The 1977 detection. August 15, 1977. At Ohio State University's Big Ear Radio Telescope, volunteer astronomer Jerry Amon is doing what he's done 1,000 times before, reviewing massive stacks of passive data printouts.
Now, the Big Ear was listening specifically to the 1420 MHz frequency, which is known as the hydrogen line. Why that exact frequency? Well, because hydrogen is literally the most abundant element in the entire universe. Scientists figured that if an intelligent alien civilization wanted to get our attention, they'd transmit on this exact frequency, knowing that any other astronomers across the cosmos would already have their dials tuned there to study galactic hydrogen. It's basically the universal watering hole.
So Amon is scanning these printouts, and boom, his eyes lock onto this vertical column of alphanumeric characters, 6EQJ5. The printer used numbers 1 through 9, and then letters, just to denote signal intensity. That U meant the signal was 30 times stronger than the normal background noise of space. Completely astonished by this massive spike sitting right on the hydrogen line, Amon literally grabs a red pen, circles the sequence, and just scribbles "Wow" in the margin. Without even thinking, he gave the phenomenon its legendary name. Section 2. Ruling out earthly origins. Because before you jump straight to aliens, you really have to lock down the crime scene and eliminate any local interference. Okay, this is where the mystery gets genuinely weird. The Big Ear telescope had a dual feed horn design. Think of it like 2 detectors sitting side by side, looking at the exact same strip of sky separated by about a 3-minute delay. So any continuous signal from deep space should have been detected by the first horn and then, roughly 3 minutes later, picked up by the second horn. But the Wow signal only showed up in one horn. When the second horn swept over that exact same patch of sky a few minutes later, there was just complete silence. The source had either inexplicably vanished or it had been switched off. Methodically, the team started crossing off earthly explanations. Aircraft, they move way too fast to stay in the beam for exactly 72 seconds. Satellites and ground transmitters, they are strictly prohibited from broadcasting on that 1420 MHz protected astronomy band. And what about space debris just reflecting a signal from Earth? Well, it would have to be moving impossibly slow and somehow not tumbling at all to mimic a perfect point source in deep space. It's this incredibly strict elimination process that keeps the extraterrestrial hypothesis firmly on the table. Section 3. The 2017 comet theory. Fast forward to 2017, when a brand new theory made global headlines claiming this 40-year-old mystery was finally solved. So Professor Antonio Paris steps up and points the finger at 2 comets, 266P/Christensen and 335P/Gibbs. These comets were totally uncatalogued back in 1977. Paris theorized that as they drifted through the constellation Sagittarius, massive clouds of neutral hydrogen gas surrounding them produced that 1420 MHz emission right as they passed through the Big Ear's field of view. And I mean, the public ate it up. The WOW signal wasn't aliens, it was just ice and dust drifting by.
Yeah, but here's the catch. This is exactly why that tidy little theory completely collapsed under scientific scrutiny. Comet experts quickly pointed out that comets just don't emit strong, narrow-band 142 MHz signals. On top of that, a comet moves slowly, so it completely fails to explain that single feed horn anomaly we talked about. It absolutely should have been seen by both horns. But the final nail in the coffin? Bob Dixon, the original director of the Big Ear, checked the math. Turns out, on August 15, 1977, those comets were in the wrong part of the sky, about 55 minutes away from where the signal actually originated. Section 4. The Sun-like Star Candidate. With the comet theory debunked, astronomers between 2020 and 2022 stopped looking in our solar system and set their sights much, much further away.
Modern tech really breathed new life into the case here. Astronomer Alberto Caballero used the incredible 3D mapping data from the Gaia Space Observatory to scour the exact coordinates of the WOW signal. And out of thousands of stars, he finds this one prime suspect, a star named 2MASS 1928-198 226-40123. It sits about 1,800 light-years away, and remarkably, it has almost the exact same temperature, radius, and luminosity as our own Sun. A pretty perfect home for an Earth-like planet, right?
So in May 2022, the Breakthrough Listen project took two massive radio telescopes, the Green Bank Telescope and the Allen Telescope Array, and pointed them directly at this star for a full day. They listened intently across the radio spectrum for any sign of a technosignature. And the result? A null result. Just absolute silence. So while the targeted search technique itself was a massive win for future SETI ops, this specific star turned out to be a dead end.
Section 5. The New Maser Hypothesis. This brings us to the most recent and honestly, perhaps the most thrilling breakthrough. Between 2024 and 2025, astrobiologist Abel Mendez and his team introduced a completely wild new astrophysical suspect.
To really wrap our heads around this, we need to know what a maser is. An astrophysical maser is basically a cosmic microwave laser beam. It's a naturally occurring source of highly concentrated, stimulated energy. Now, you might be thinking, why didn't Jerry Emmon just think of this back in 1977? Because the specific objects capable of triggering this, called magnetars, which are incredibly dense, violently spinning dead stars, hadn't even been hypothesized yet. The science literally did not exist.
Picture this. You've got this massive drifting cloud of cold neutral hydrogen gas out in deep space. Suddenly, right behind it, a magnetar unleashes a violent, temporary flare of radiation. When that extreme energy smashes into the cold hydrogen cloud, it stimulates the gas, acting like an amplifier, and shooting out this blinding narrowband microwave laser beam aimed directly at Earth. It would be insanely bright, sit perfectly on the 1420 MHz hydrogen line, and last only a brief moment before vanishing completely. It is a perfect match for the WOW signal.
And get this, here is the smoking gun. Mendez's team actually went digging through decades of old, unpublished archival data from the Arecibo Observatory, and they found 8 fainter, WOW-like flickers scattered across different patches of sky. If Mendez is right, the WOW signal was never alien contact. Instead, it was the very first recorded instance in human history of a spectacularly rare natural cosmic maser flare, an astronomical event just hiding in plain sight on a computer printout for half a century.
Section 6. The case remains open. Because look, before we close the book on this mystery, we have to remember that in science, a brilliant hypothesis is still just a hypothesis until it is definitively proven. It has been an unbelievable 49-year journey. From that initial jaw-dropping detection in 1977, through the totally debunked comet theory of 2017, the silent sun-like star in 2022, right up to the cutting-edge maser hypothesis we have today. I mean, this perfectly illustrates the scientific method in action, right? Methodically eliminating false leads, constantly upgrading our tech, and slowly closing in on the truth, step by step.
But here is what you should really take away from this explainer today. The maser theory is incredibly promising, for sure, but it's currently unconfirmed. The exact conditions haven't been fully replicated yet. And most importantly, the WOW signal itself has never, ever repeated. So I'll leave you with this final thought. If the maser hypothesis actually turns out to be wrong, who or what actually sent that signal? The universe's most famous cold case remains tantalizingly open.